In a world where wealth has devoured not only land and labor, but the very essence of human identity, a new form of luxury has emerged, one that reveals the ultimate trajectory of power, the renting of lives. This service, called life-sharing, cloaks itself in elegance and sophistication, promising the rich a reprieve from their gilded cages of stress, competition, and paranoia by allowing them to step into the quiet simplicity of another's existence. A librarian, a baker, a gardener, a groundskeeper. Yet beneath its glossy marketing lies a cruelty more profound than chains or hunger, for it is not simply a temporary escape, but an instrument of erasure. The wealthy patrons who indulge in this service soon discover they are not merely observing the borrowed life. They are altering it, engraving their impressions into the neural fabric of the original person, dissolving what was authentic, and replacing it with an artificial version designed to please the next client. It is not a service of sharing, but a system of conquest. The slow annihilation of souls repackaged as entertainment. Machiavelli would say this is no accident, but the natural evolution of inequality. For power never rests at partial conquest. Once a man has gained dominion over the external, he inevitably seeks to dominate the internal. What begins with property and armies always ends with the human mind itself. Life-sharing is the culmination of that trajectory. It dresses itself as admiration for the simplicity of the humble, as though the wealthy wish to taste the beauty of unadorned existence, yet what they truly seek is to consume the authenticity they themselves have lost. They speak of wanting a break from the pressures of wealth, of longing for the quiet dignity of ordinary lives, but they cannot experience those lives without remaking them. Every choice they make, every habit they adjust during their stay, rewires the person they inhabit. A baker who once rose before dawn out of duty to family may, after repeated rentals, awaken with a different motivation implanted by strangers. A librarian who loved books for their silence may find herself suddenly filled with preferences and attitudes not her own. What remains is no longer the original, but a construct, a body that wears the name and face, but whose soul has been fragmented and sold. To Machiavelli, this would not be cruelty for its own sake, but the inevitable expression of ambition. Those who hold wealth always seek new domains of possession, and when external goods no longer suffice, they turn to the intangible. To own a person's labor is one form of mastery, but to own their very memories and inclinations is the perfection of domination. And yet the rulers of this system are clever. They wrap this tyranny in the language of opportunity. They claim that the poor are volunteers, that they lie in stasis by choice, that they benefit through payments or security given to their families. Thus they turn subjugation into a contract and erase guilt through legal signatures. Machiavelli would recognize the cunning. The appearance of consent is the finest tool of control. For a subject who believes himself a participant is less likely to rebel than one who sees himself a slave. The tragedy is most visible when we focus on the figure of the young man who rents the life of a woman. He is admired from afar. At first his desire is innocent, born of longing to know her world, to walk in her footsteps, to taste the rhythm of her days. Yet once inside, he discovers the cruel paradox. To inhabit her life is to alter it, and to love her is to erase her. Every gesture of affection he brings to her borrowed existence imprints upon her mind, rewriting her very personality. His tenderness, meant as devotion, becomes indistinguishable from violence. He cannot refrain from leaving traces of himself, and so what he treasures most, the authenticity of her being, is destroyed by his very presence. Machiavelli would say that here lies the essence of power, that even love, when entangled with inequality, becomes a weapon. The young man does not intend harm, but his privilege ensures it. For one who possesses another's life cannot help but corrupt it. The wealthy patrons in general, however, are not troubled by such dilemmas. They consume lives as one consumes art, wine, or theater, never pausing to consider the consequences. Over time, their demand reshapes the very people they rent. Just as an economy of luxury reshapes crafts into ornaments for the rich, so too does life-sharing reshape human beings into commodities tailored for elite tastes. The librarian becomes quieter, more pliant, less opinionated because the clients prefer it so. The baker's laughter becomes more measured, his temper softened until he is no longer a man but a product. What was once authentic individuality is replaced with predictability, a living puppet molded by successive clients. Machiavelli would remark that this is a masterstroke of rule. For the most dangerous force in the world is unpredictability. By converting people into consumable, controllable versions of themselves, the elite secure obedience not through laws or armies, but through direct alteration of character. It is stability bought with identity as currency, and yet, as always, stability carries its own dangers. For though the elite believe themselves secure, Machiavelli would warn them that contempt is the seed of rebellion. There is no greater contempt than the reduction of a human soul into a rental property. While each individual lies in stasis, ignorant of what is happening to them during the rental, over time the fragments return. A person awakens and senses dissonance, memories that are not their own, desires they never held, affections for strangers whose faces they cannot place. They look into mirrors and find strangers staring back. Such people are dangerous, for they are no longer whole. Yet they are not completely broken. They are fractured, and in their fracture lies a hunger for meaning. Should enough of them awaken with this awareness, they may discover a shared wound and with it a shared cause. Here lies the hidden weakness of life-sharing. It multiplies the number of people with reason to hate their rulers, even if it erases them slowly. The wealthy, meanwhile, are not immune to corruption themselves. In consuming authenticity, they lose their own capacity to live authentically. Every experience becomes mediated, borrowed, sterilized. They cannot enjoy their own existence because it is weighed down by power and paranoia. Yet the lives they rent soon lose their rawness as well, since they are reshaped to suit repeated consumption. In seeking the innocence of the humble, they destroy it, leaving themselves trapped in a cycle of hollow pleasures. Machiavelli would observe that this is the irony of tyranny. The more absolute the control, the less satisfying the fruits. A ruler who eliminates all danger also eliminates the very vitality that made conquest worthwhile. The elite of this system rot even as they rule, not in body but in soul. As for the young man, his discovery is both personal and political. He realizes that his feelings are inseparable from the structure of power that enabled them. He cannot disentangle love from domination. To abandon her life is to lose her forever, but to remain is to annihilate her authenticity. This is the perfect trap, the cruelest expression of inequality, a system that transforms even devotion into destruction. Machiavelli would see him as the tragic embodiment of the prince who tries to be both loved and feared. It is an impossibility that ensures failure, for in wielding power tenderly, he still wields it absolutely, and absolute power does not permit love to remain pure. His downfall is inevitable, not because he is malicious, but because the structure itself corrupts even good intentions. Life-sharing, then, is the perfection of inequality, the transformation of people into consumable experiences, the turning of identity itself into a marketplace. It is not merely exploitation but annihilation disguised as indulgence. To Machiavelli, this would not be surprising, for he believed men are driven by ambition and fear, and that where there is opportunity for domination, it will always be taken. The wealthy will claim virtue, speak of admiration for simplicity, but their actions reveal the truth. What they cannot be, they will consume. What they cannot create, they will corrupt. And the poor, seduced by promises of payment and persuaded by the illusion of choice, will enter willingly into the machine that dissolves them. In the end, what remains is neither the wealthy nor the poor as they once were, but a new order of hollowed beings. The rich stripped of authenticity by indulgence, the poor stripped of authenticity by erasure. It is a world in which power has achieved its purest form. Not rule over actions, not rule over possessions, but rule over the very essence of what it means to be a self. And in such a world, love itself becomes indistinguishable from destruction, freedom becomes indistinguishable from surrender, and identity becomes nothing more than a resource to be extracted, consumed and discarded in the endless hunger of inequality.